Welcome back to the show, everybody. I have an amazing guest with me today. You may have seen him on Instagram, TikTok, maybe even Facebook. Definitely, he is killing the game on social, and we have an amazing story to share. Juan G. Perez, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited.
Me too. I am excited too. I've been following your account very closely. It's amazing to watch all of the pizza that you do. And we're definitely going to be talking about the social media side on this podcast and your story as well. And before we get into all of that, though, there is one question that I always ask. There's no right or wrong answer. What's good dough?
I know everything is good. Everything is great. Excited to be here. Excited to share some of my story and excited to be part of this.
Me too. And then let's get to your story. I want to start it off maybe pre-2008. Who was Juan Perez prior to coming to the United States and becoming this social media pizza king?
I was born in Colombia, in a town near Medellin. I did high school, everything. I went out from high school when I was 16 years old. Did some different jobs, worked with some friends, worked with my brother. He has his own business, so I was working a little bit with him. I wasn't sure if I want to go to university and study something. I always liked computer system, all this stuff. A little bit about food. I wasn't very into cooking. I was just cooking with my mom sometimes, but nothing crazy. I feel that I was somebody that was looking for something in life, and my brother was in the US. So, one day I just was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe my future is somewhere else. I want to live, a different culture, different opportunity, see what will be good for me in the future. So talk to my mom and we decided that we should make a move for me. And that was how I ended up being here. So I think it was the right decision.
It seems like it was the right decision. But was it scary at the time when you were doing it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's, just going from your comfort zone, living with your mom, your friend, everything, coming to another country that you don't speak the language, you don't know what's the good culture here, all you see is on TV. I always been a little shy. I'm not very outgoing. I'm a little quiet on the quiet side, but I'm not afraid of new things. I'm not afraid of go around and discover new things. So I was I was excited, a little scary to move and get somewhere that you don't pretty much have my brother and couple other family members, but no crazy amount of people. So you start from nothing, from the bottom, and learning the culture, making some friends and connections and everything. So step by step.
Yeah, step by step, starting from the bottom. I mean, you didn't go to move to the United States and then all of a sudden became the head chef at Posto, right?
Yeah, no, correct. Yeah, I started working on a supermarket. That was my first job. I was just taking trash out, washing some dishes. So one day I was taking the trash out. I saw this guy walking by. He looked at me. I look at him and I was like, oh, it looks like somebody I know. He continued walking. And then he turns back and he's like, he won. And I was like, oh, he was a friend of mine from high school. He's like, oh, I didn't know you were here. He was so excited. And he's like, oh, I'm working on this Chinese restaurant not far away from here. You want to work there or something? I don't know. You look for job. So I was just working there and I was like, maybe I could go and check it out and see what's going on. I was like, oh, should I go or no? So it was Friday night. So I get up from that job that I had and I go over there and I took the bus. I get off. In fact, there was the restaurant there. So I get in and the hostess was asking me. I just was saying his name. His name was Gio. And I was like, hey, Gio. And then she understands. She's like, oh, Gio, man. So they were so busy. It was 7 p.m. at night. It was rush hour. So the next day I went there and, it was my first experience in kitchen, actually kitchen. They made dumplings and there was a wok and fried rice. Everything was pretty cool. I would start working a dishwasher. So worked Saturday, Sunday, and the chef was very happy. She's like, oh, you want to continue working with us? I can give you a night shift. But I had this other job. So I was trying to compare. And those 2 days I really enjoyed, I was like, oh, kitchen? It's fun. So I quit the other job. Also, I didn't have very, very good experience there. The first pay I got, I didn't count the money and it was short by $60. So when I got home, I counted and it was just cash. They pay you cash. Excited, so I decided to know, I call. I was like, I had my brother calling and tell them that I wasn't coming back. So I started working in that place, right? And it was a Chinese restaurant. I worked on 6 nights. And then they have a bakery here in Boston. It's one of the probably biggest bakery chains in Boston. It's called Flour Bakery, by a very known chef. She was looking for somebody at the mornings to work at the bakery. So, and I was like, yeah, I'm able. I'm not doing anything. I'm available. So I started working there. I was working 6 nights, 6 days, making like prep for sandwiches in the mornings and then doing dishes at night. I worked like that for like probably 6 months. It was a little hard, but I was very jumped. So I was like, I was getting paid well. So I was like, it's nice. Money is always good when you start, right? It's like, it's probably the first thing when you jump and then you start making money. It's like, it's what pushes you like to work and work more. But eventually you fall in love with what you do. So it becomes a secondary, right?
After the break, Juan tells us how he goes from being a dishwasher at a Chinese restaurant to being a pizza maker at, you guessed it, California Pizza Kitchen. Before we continue with this conversation, I just want to remind folks that this episode is sponsored by Uni Pizza Ovens. Uni Pizza Ovens is the world's #1 pizza oven company, and they're making some amazing things, from outdoor ovens like the Unikota 16 or the Unikaru 16, all the way to indoor ovens now, electric ovens like the Univolt 12, so you can make pizza literally anywhere. You can take these portable ovens with you, and oh my goodness, whether you want to make pizza at home, level it up, or you want to start your own pizza business, this is a great way to do so. Check out the affiliate link in the show notes. If you're ever looking for an oven or any supplies, use that link. I'd be so thankful if you do. Also, this podcast is sponsored by Cordo Olive Oil. Cordo is an amazing product. I still don't know why you are using commodity oil that's been sitting in your cabinet for too long, tasting rancid. Oh no, please don't do that to your pizza. Don't drizzle some rancid commodity oil only to get a bitter flavor, a bitter taste, a taste that's not fresh, a taste that doesn't give you that. Seriously, y'all, if you want to use the best olive oil, you got to get with Cordo. There's a link in the show notes where you can try the difference. Check out Cordo Olive Oil if you're a pizza operator, and you can get a free Cordo Olive Oil tasting free of charge. And if you're a home user, no worries. You can also do that tasting. I highly recommend it for a nominal cost. I appreciate you for listening to my show sponsors.
So going back to the story, I met a friend and he was working for California Pizza Kitchen, which is a big chain of pizza place. It's a big place that is like big in the country, and then even internationally, they have over 300 stores. They were looking for new people at the Prudential Mall in Boston, which is the biggest mall in the downtown area. It was probably one of the biggest stores. They had like 4 stores in Boston, and that one was probably the biggest and the most busy one. So they renew it. They were closed for a bit while they were like renovation and everything. So they were looking for new people to join the team. I was fine working in the other places, right? But I learned a little bit more. I was learning a little bit about kitchen, like cooking and everything, while I was doing like dishes and everything. So they asked me like, hey, this is a new restaurant. It's a pizza place. I never, ever had any like contact with pizza besides like just eating. Never like in my life, not even in my house, I make a pizza when I was a kid or not. Nothing at all. It was a good friend of my brother, which was the general manager. And he's like, oh, just come by, we'll talk. And again, a little bit more money. And they were like, oh, we're looking for dishwashers, but here you can grow a lot, you can make prep, all this stuff, right? So I decided to leave one of the jobs because I was working for both, but they weren't very happy about it. And I was like, hey, I was trying to tell them that it was a better opportunity for me to not like just doing dishes, but that's how people react. And I don't blame them. I was like, they're happy with you or what you do, but you want to grow, you have to like, go places and look. And they were very happy. So they started like giving me less days at the job that I stayed. So at the end, I was like, no, you know what? This is not going to work. So I might just leave both jobs and then just start working in the California Pizza Kitchen. And then from there, I can just find some other jobs. So I started working there. And again, as a dishwasher, I feel that it was a little better for me. I don't know, the whole situation, it was good. It's a corporation. It's always like room to learn a little bit more. It was also a big restaurant. So the other place was just like dumplings, fried rice. This is like salad, pasta, pizza, everything, right? So when I was doing dishes, it's always 2 of us. So when there were nothing to do, I used to just go and sweep the line. And then there was this guy making pizzas. And he's like, hey, you want to learn this pizza? And I was learning, and I was like, yeah, sure, excited. But the other guy, which was washing dishes with me, was like, hey, no, you're going to get fired. They're going to fire you because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I thought to myself, like, I don't think they're going to fire me because I want to learn, right? It's good for them that if I learn. I continue. I was, at some point, there was two of us, right? One of us has to like make some prep, right? Just like shredded some cheese and like the pizza dough comes on like frozen, so you got to put it on the trays. There he was, the oldest, he was always like, oh no, I go do prep and then you stay here washing dishes. But I was washing dishes so fast that I had time to go and make some pizzas. And he wasn't happy about it. And I was like, oh, I've washed my dishes. You know, my responsibility is having this thing clean. So I was doing very fast so I can have time to go there and like learn a little bit. And yeah, one morning, I was actually working mornings and nights over there now. They were like paying me overtime because they were like, oh, they were looking for people. They just reopened and you know, like they don't mind paying you overtime. One Saturday morning, one of the guys didn't show up, the pizza guys, and then the kitchen manager, he was like, hey, I seen you making pizzas and do you want to do it because we don't have anybody? I was like, oh, sure. So that was my first actually shift. And it was fine. You know, it was three of us. They used to stretch the dough on a machine. Like you push it and then you press it, you take it out and then you put it on the table. And then the second person was doing toppings. And then the third person was baking the pizzas. It's always three because it's really easy. It's like a very basic plate. So, you know, I was stretching dough and then sometimes putting some toppings. And then for my surprise, when they sent over the schedule, I had one day in pizza. Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I was so excited. And, you know, you go through 2 weeks of training. So I went through the whole 2 weeks and then, you know, I started like, you know, getting better. And then, you know, eventually in like 6 months, so I learned pizza, right? Everything. Stretching, topping, baking. Probably like after a year, I was doing expo sometimes Saturday nights. And then Sundays, I was doing dishes. At some point, I was like the head of the kitchen, sending over tickets on a Saturday night. And then the next day I was doing dishes. And then one day I asked him, I was like, and he's like, no, you know what? I seen that you're good, but you still have a lot to learn. And this is going to help you.
Well, there you have it. The story of how Juan Perez started off as a dishwasher and worked his way up to becoming a pizza maker. In part 2 of this conversation, we'll talk about his journey on to being the executive chef over at Posto Boston and how he became the social media pizza king that he is today. Make sure to subscribe to the show. See you at the next episode. Thank you for listening to the What's Good Dough podcast. Make sure to check out the show notes where you'll find links to my Patreon, email list, and the links to all my sponsors. You'll also find the contact info for today's guest too. Before we sign off today, I'd love it if you could support me by rating and reviewing this show. It helps so much when it comes to growing the show. Also, please share this episode with a friend, family member, or fellow pizza maker, especially if you think it'll add value to their lives. You can copy the link to this podcast and send it on over to them, or you can even share it via social media. If you do that, please tag me. I'd greatly appreciate it. Last but not least, I'd love it if you subscribe to the show. That way you can get notified anytime there's a new podcast. I appreciate you for listening. I love you. Till next time. Peace.